let's get off of this boring, fantastic news. Let's get right into the biggest topic in Chicago called "We Are So Good, but Yet We Are So Fucking Bad." The Chicago Bulls cannot beat anyone good. Their record, though, is 42-29, which is real good. James, I don't know if you know this, but 42-29 is a pretty damn good record.
Pretty good record.
All right. They have an offensive rating of 113.4. That's 8th best in the league. That's good. Their defensive rating is 112.5, which is 20th. That's not so good. Their net rating of plus 0.9 is 14th in the league. That's league average. Matter of fact, based upon their net rating, you would say they've dramatically outperformed expectations. But the real thing that matters is their record against top four seeds, current top four seeds this season. They are 3-18. Let me repeat, 3-18 against top four seeds. If you're not good at math and fractions, that means 1 out of 7 times they play a top four seed, they will win a game. That means if you play a 7-game series, there's a very good chance they wouldn't win a single game unless somehow they made them play 7 games, even though the other team won 6.
Yeah.
So that's kind of crazy. And this is the biggest indictment on all of it. Their 3 wins against top four seeds, the last one occurred on November 10th. November fucking 10th. It wasn't even American Thanksgiving. And that was against Dallas. And Dallas wasn't playing like a top four seed in the beginning of the season. Luka was still working off his vacation bod. They beat the Celtics on November 1st, who were not good to start the season, have been very good as of late. And they beat Utah on October 30th. They have some wins against teams that we would consider top four-ish seeds, especially when they played them, like Brooklyn. But James, what the fuck? How can you wrap your head around a team being so average, but yet excellent against average to below average teams and pitiful against good teams?
Yeah. So it's funny because you and I are going to have, I think this is going to be a good discussion because I think we have competing explanations as to why this is happening, or at least we would emphasize different aspects of why it's happening. To my mind, a team that is like stacked offensively and so limited defensively is probably built to just blow out bad teams, right? Like to me, that makes some intuitive sense.
Yeah.
You know, this at this point is basically an inside joke between us, but they don't have any rim protection, and I think it's a problem. And like Vooch is a known net negative defender, but when you line up DeRozan at the 4 alongside him, like you're really asking for trouble. Like DeMar DeRozan is also a bad defender, and he's only been a 4 for the past like 2 seasons. Offensively, it's great, right? But defensively, like not only do you not have a rim protector, you don't have a help defender to even assist with that. And then right now they're starting. I think I saw Javonte Green at the 3. Is he a good defender? I mean, like I think he's probably fine, but he's not making up a Vooch DeRozan pairing.
Yeah, and LaVine, like people have talked about his defense being better, but you know, he's not a plus defender, right? And I think personally the biggest issue on defense is they knew their rim protection wasn't going to be great, which was why the Caruso and Lonzo pairing was just such a important thing to their defense. Because, and those guys being injured, I think is like, I don't think it's the reason why necessarily they're not good against top four seeds, but I think it's the reason why they're 20th in defensive rating this season. If those guys had been healthy all year, like what, you think they'd be like 15th? Maybe they could have snuck into 14th. Because if you don't have good rim protection, you need good perimeter defense, obviously. But also those guys are so good at getting steals that like they can turn defense into offense in a way that you're just not going to do with those other guys. And like, those are huge wins, because the way I see a steal that turns into a transition opportunity is you're not only preventing a team from scoring, so you're wiping off, you know, like 1.1 points if you think that they're going to like, you know, average that per shot attempt. but you're also getting a super high value chance. Like, in transition, that's probably like a 1.5 off of a steal. It might even be better. So it's almost like a 3-point swing. And if you get 2 or 3 more of those a game, that's huge.
Yeah, well, I think steals are like mathematically the most valuable stat for that reason, right? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of a known thing. Like a steal's worth like 7 points or something outrageous on average like that. But I say this, I don't think you can build an entire half court defense around two guards getting steals. You know what I mean? I think that if they had an extra, who they're really missing is Patrick Williams, who I think is
Yeah.
due back. But
Yes.
yeah, like that's the wing defender that they probably needed to build like a competent NBA defense with this group, right? If the lineup was Vooch, Patrick Williams, DeRozan, Levine, Ball with Caruso as a sixth man, that would be different. That would be a different equation for sure. I also think that as you put in our document that I don't think you just said out loud,
Have it.
Vooch's 3-point slump is definitely a problem for a team that was going all in on offense. Like they needed him to be the 3-point shooter that he usually is. So, if that were the case, maybe they'd be fifth or sixth in offensive rating, right? Just because it would open up other parts of the floor as well. But yeah, I think that the defensive deficiencies of this roster are definitely like a glaring issue that has them designed to beat bad teams but struggle against good teams.
So I put this my mid-range theory. And this is, I actually think, the biggest reason why they struggle against good teams is DeMar DeRozan has become the engine of their offense. And he is awesome in the mid-range. And my theory is that like good teams give you mid-range jumpers. Like that's what good defenses do. They're like they design their defense to allow you to take mid-range jumpers. And DeRozan is great at hitting them. But the problem is this is that like if your offense is predicated or partially predicated on killing in the mid-range, that doesn't actually mean that like mid-range jumpers are like a big part of what makes your offense good. It just means when your offense isn't working well, you have a better chance of getting an inefficient bucket to be a bit more efficient. And so what I think the issue is that like they aren't actually good at hitting threes in the way they need to, and they're not good at getting shots at the rim in the way that they need to. And so like they just take too many mid-range jumpers, and good teams are good at making you inefficient on threes and twos. So it's like against a bad team where they're not as good at putting like, making the high value shots inefficient, they're at like league average to above league average efficiency in those areas. And then those mid-range jumpers are like just a big fucking bonus. But without that against a good team, it's just like, oh, okay, like you can't build an offense around mid-range jumpers. And so that's why I think one of the issues is like part of the issue is like DeRozan's being the engine and being such a good mid-range jump shooter and like taking a bunch of really tough ones doesn't actually have many net positives for the offense outside of getting the bucket. And against a good team, they're just going to take away the high value shots or make them not take them away, but make them less efficient. And then that really basically makes your offense not all that special. And that's what they need to beat teams as we look at their net rating and their offensive rating. It's like they're going to have to win with scoring.
So I'll tell you what, man. I think what we have here is two theories that really work in tandem. They're not
Yeah.
mutually exclusive or competing theories at all. Yeah, it's just like because they have a weak defense and because they have an offensive strategy that's kind of conducive to beating bad teams, but is likely to suffer against like stronger defenses. They're beating all the bad teams and they're not beating the good teams. It
Yeah.
all makes sense.
It does make sense. The one question I have though is like, if Caruso and Lonzo come back and they're good and they make the defense a bit better, and Vooch starts hitting threes like in a playoff series, do we think they can like beat a good team, like
Yeah,
beat a top 4 seed?
it's like if everything goes right, it goes right. Like
But what
if
we're
those guys both come back and they're ready to go, and Patrick Williams comes back and he's ready to go, and Vooch regresses to his mean, then sure they could be a scary team. But like those are kind of a lot of things to go right, though. I'm not all that. I don't have a lot of faith.
so, but that's the thing. Like, are we actually asking for things to go right, or are we asking for things to not keep going wrong?
True. True.
Because I do wonder
Yeah,
how
I mean,
much of
you
it's
can't
that.
count them out. There's too much talent on the roster to count them out. But like, there are 3 or 4 teams in the East that I feel pretty confident would beat them right now.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
me too. Me too. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like they might end up with the 4 seed and get knocked out in the first round. If they end up with a five
Oh yeah.
seed. If they end up in the 5 seed, there's no way they're making out of the first round, statistically speaking. Um, all right, let's move off of the Bulls because as much as it's very interesting how they are, how should I describe it? They're that mid-major that everyone gets excited about and gets in the tournament and play as like a 4 seed and plays a 13 seed that's from a big conference and gets spanked.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, huh, that's weird. They won 27 games. It's like, well, because they only
Against you.
played. Yeah, exactly. They got 27 victories against, Johnny Nobody and Jimmy Bucket ish getter. Okay.